Yeah. Okay. Knowing myself, my strengths and my weaknesses, to be able to, let's see what you guys wrote. Being present. Yes, being present with myself, to be aware of how I relate to others and the world around me. Knowing myself, my strengths, my weaknesses, self-knowing. All right. Yes, we're on this on the right track. It is one of the things about self-awareness is that a whole bunch of people are not aware of themselves. Okay, how do I get out of here? What do you guys see on the screen right now? Do you see the PowerPoint?
Self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
Yes.
Okay, well, something is going on with me on this side. I can't see that. Hold on. Okay. All right, so when we're talking about what it is to be self-aware, what is it to be self-aware? If I told you percentages of people who are actually self-aware in the world, it's staggering, but I'll talk about that later. So when the quote I have on here is, it's the ability, I want to read it out, is the ability to focus on yourself and how your actions, your thoughts, or your emotions do or do not align with your internal standards. So if you're highly self-aware, you can objectively evaluate yourself, manage your emotions, align your behavior with your values, and understand correctly how others perceive you. So when we put that simply, what we're really saying is that those who are highly self-aware are able to interpret their actions, they're able to interpret their feelings and thoughts objectively. The word is objectively, not subjectively. So the person who is self-aware is going to say, is going to understand what's going on internally with them and be able to correlate that with what is outside. All right. It is a rare skill. It is not something that most people have. People actually spiral into, into other people's feelings, other people's actions. So for example, if you walk into a room and they don't smile at you, you don't walk into a room, they don't smile at you. Immediately you're thinking, I don't know what's going on. They don't like me, this and this and this. It changes your own internal feelings, and you also then maybe have a frown on your face, or you act or you react to them in a certain way. That's the way human beings function anyway, right? But so for you to actually practice the self-awareness, you have to be intentional. Developing self-awareness is important because it allows you as a leader, as a person, to grow and have agency, to be effective in the things that you do, especially if you're going to transact within, around people. So do you want to be happier in your life? Do you want to have more intimacy in your life? Do you want to have more intimacy in your life? Do you want to have better relationships? Do you want to be a better decision maker? Do you want to be a more effective leader? Self-awareness then is one of the skill sets, in fact, the most important muscle you must develop. Everything we've been talking about this past few days, you can't do it if you're not self-aware. It is what keeps you on target to be the best person that you can be. It is self-awareness. To your best, the best version of you shows up. You're the best of yourself when you're self-aware. There are two types of self-awareness, by the way. There are two types of self-awareness. We have the public self-awareness and we have the private self-awareness. The two types. So when public self-awareness is how we appear to others. Because of this consciousness of how we appear to others, we're more likely to then adhere, to follow the social norms and behaviors so that we're socially acceptable. Okay, so for example, and I don't know why this is what's coming to my mind right now. for example, if you went to a funeral that people are, mourning someone, and even if you don't know that person, when you go into that place, right, and you go into that house or into wherever that is going on, you're not going to start singing and doing happy song. If people are somber and things like that, you're going to modify. Even if you're feeling happy, you're going to modify yourself to what is going on with the customs and the norms for that place. When you go into an office, there's a particular way you're going to dress. There's a particular way you're going to appear. When you get home, you don't sit in your suits at home, right? You change to fit that. But when you're going out, you have to follow those social norms. So the public self-awareness is important. Most of us do that without even thinking. We just kind of find ourselves aligning with social norms and behaviors, so that we can actually get along with people, so that we can actually be accepted. We do that like this without thinking. We do that. Now, private self-awareness, on the other hand, is really where we want to be. Is the ability to notice and reflect what is internal to you, what's going on inside. It's being introspective. It's not judgmental. It's not about judging yourself all the time and saying, I'm not good, I'm not good, I'm not, no. So we're not doing all that in 2022. Not. Cancel, no. You are not judging yourself this year. You are loving yourself. You're being kind to yourself. Remember what we did yesterday. All right, so that's not what we're talking about. So as an example, let's say you notice yourself, like I was talking, you walk into a room and you tense up because people are not, maybe they're not smiling or anything. Well, you notice that you tensed up. Immediately, if you're self-aware, you notice that you tense up, you need to do something about that, so that your behavior doesn't reflect that you're tensing up. All right. So what that means is, you enter that meeting, you enter that room and people are not smiling at you. I want you, remember where we learned about changing our thoughts, right? And reframing, remember that? Well, immediately you need to immediately say, oh, wow, what's going on? Maybe they're busy, maybe something's happening. You do that, you reflect. The fact that you notice the sensation, first of all, that your body's about to do something and you manage it, that is what self-awareness does. When self-awareness goes into places on the inside, it allows you to live from the inside out. All right. So this whole idea that you are not your thoughts, you are not your feelings, this whole idea that you're not your sensations that go around in your bodies. Let's stop acting as if we are our thoughts. Just because you have a thought doesn't mean that's you. Doesn't be just the fact that, no, if you could capture all the thoughts that went through your mind every day, so self-awareness is the idea that you are bigger than everything. You're bigger than your thoughts. You're more than what you think. You're more than what you're feeling. But most human beings react to their thoughts. They react to their feelings. So we can go about our daily lives without ever looking at what's going on inside us. We're just moving and just reacting as we go. So, but when the self-awareness is about this whole okay, I'm not there yet. This whole idea of self-evaluation, like self-evaluation, so that you're aware of your own thinking. We call that meta thinking, or aware of your cognition, metacognition. Like you're aware of what you are thinking, what you're feeling, and you're aware of all of that. So when we engage in this type of self-evaluation, we give some thoughts to whether what you're thinking, feeling, or acting is what you really value. Are my thoughts, my thoughts, my feelings, my acting, everything I'm doing, are those in line with what I value, or is there a dissonance? You cannot get rid of dissonance until you self-evaluate. And when you're in dissonance, it is difficult for things to manifest in your life. When you are in dissonance, that means you are acting one way and thinking another way, or thinking another way and acting another and a certain way. It is then difficult for anything to manifest. So, an example, you're a student or you want to have a certain profession. I want to be, I don't know, whatever, teacher, medical doctor, whatever, I want to be a business person, whatever it is. That's your thoughts. That's what you want. That's where you want to go. That's where you want to do. But your actions, if they're different, if you're taking more, you're taking, let's say you want to be a medical doctor, but you're hanging out with musicians, you're taking classes in music, you're doing this, you're thinking one thing, you're acting another way. That's a dissonance. That means there's something not parallel. There's something not that haven't gelled together, not connected. And in that way, it will be a struggle for you to live a life that you really want. Yeah, are you with me? Are you with me? Say yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
All right. So look at this. Look at this next PowerPoint. Imagine, see where the conscious, oh, let me move this so you can see this properly. Hold on. Okay. The unconscious becomes the conscious. This is what happens during self-reflection. The unconscious, most of your mind, 80% of your mind is unconscious. 80% is unconscious. A whole bunch of what we do is driven by the things that you're not even aware are there. The things that you're not even aware that is there is in your unconscious mind, and they become drivers of your life. It is during self-reflection and self-evaluation that you can dig into what's in the unconscious mind that's been trying to either sabotage your life, and then you can change it. The self you can be aware of is much more than the conscious mind. Neuro-linguistic programming, they suggest that much of our thinking and communications lies way outside your conscious awareness. We don't, and there's been this is what the scientists have gathered around. There was a lady one time who was talking to me, a client of mine, and she was like, I have married four. He said, she's been married 4 times. And she said, and I have married, each time I get married, I decide to marry somebody completely different from the prior one. Her first husband was very abusive towards her. And so she said, I'm not going to marry. And his first husband was a particular race, a particular profession. She said the next time she got married, she was going to go opposite and do the exact opposite. So the first husband was a blue collar who drove truck, and all of that stuff. The second man she married was a professional white collar guy, work guy. Okay, so later on, he also became abusive. She got divorced. third person she married, completely not even the race, you know, different ethnicity, different everything, not even in the same country, married that one. The same thing happened. So she was on the fourth marriage when we met. All right. And she's asking the same question. And I made a statement to her. I said, well, the common denominator here will be you, right? But why are you selecting this man? Even though you do not want to marry, you do not want this to happen. When those kind of things are happening, you look into commitments that you have made when you were developing. We make commitments that go into our unconscious minds that we don't even know are there. So for example, if you see your father beat your mother beat your father, or whatever, you see some domestic violence in the house, you make, as a 4-year-old, as a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, you will make a commitment. You would please mute yourself. You will make a commitment at that early age. You can say, I would never be close to any guy, or I would never marry a guy that would. You make this commitment in your head. All right. However, your mind has also taken a picture of the violence. It's taking a picture of it. It feels like the template you have is a template of love and relationship you have is what happened. Now, it doesn't mean that all domestic violence people have, it doesn't mean that every single one who's experienced domestic violence means that they have seen it in childhood. But here is what the commitment this woman had made to herself. She had made a commitment that she was never going to be close to any man in her life. So even though she was getting married, she did not want to be married. It was not just about the abuse or the this or that. She did not want to be married. When we got to the bottom of the thing, she didn't want to be with anybody. That's what was in her unconscious mind. Even though her conscious mind was saying get married, her unconscious mind kept saying don't get married. So self-reflection is about taking what's in the unconscious or non-conscious and bringing it up into the conscious. Your unconscious mind has a greater impact on your life than you can imagine. Did you know that 90%, and it's 90% of all the decisions you make are made unconsciously. Unconsciously, 90% of the decisions that you make, you have already made them without you even knowing that you made them. It's like somebody's driving you and you are in the driver's seat of your life. So you're in the passenger seat of your life. So when you're not practicing self-reflection and self-evaluation, it's as if you just put your unconscious mind in the driver's seat and you say, go ahead. And it's just taking you where it wants to take you. So we're saying this year, 2022, we're getting back in the driver's seats of our life. 90% of decisions are made unconsciously, and you only know what you've decided when you've decided after the fact. That when it comes, we're like, oh, okay, well, okay, yeah. So come on, let's see. Type in the chat box. I want to see you saying yes to being in the driver's seat of my life. Stella says she has a question. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Because this is something I want to do, I'm taking this class very practical. So, and I know that some of the people I'm going to be working with are Nigerian Christians. And I know you understand what I mean. So if I take the case that you just shared with us now, if I were talking to a typical Nigerian person, the first thing I will hear is that that lady has a generational curse coming from her father's house.
Mm-hmm.
How does this fit into the Nigerian narrative?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, because I personally, I believe that God is the first scientist. Really, science is just discovering God, And when people draw a parallel between psychology and spirituality, that's where, in fact, that's one of the reasons I'm inside your training, because I want to prove to people or to show people that, listen, just like talking about self-awareness, and when I wanted to break my fast yesterday, I slowed down to taste the food. It took me a bit longer because I'm always doing things very fast, but I slowed down, and it occurred to me that you weren't really asking me to do something extraordinary. It's just that I should pay attention to what I'm doing before I get to the next thing. So how do I, apart from the statistics that I have, somebody has been married for 3 times, 4 times, something, the person ordinarily would have been told to go for deliverance.
All right. I can answer that question for you. All right, because it's a very legitimate question. It's a question that I had to. It's not just a Nigerian culture. It's also a very Christian culture. Christian evangelical cultures. When sometimes when you say these things, it's like, okay, is the devil, is the demon, is it cast it out, and all of that. Now I'm going to answer this for you. Putting my okay, just let me answer it. When Jesus was talking to Peter, and it says, we're going to give you the keys to the kingdom. The keys to the kingdom. It means that there are multiple keys to this kingdom. All right. So which means that if there are different keys. So there's keys to how you should function as a family. The Bible focuses on how you should function as an entity. It talks about how you should function, how we should build structures in society. If you go to the Old Testament, there are different people who are skilled. That's just a fact. That's just a foundation. The second thing is this. A lot of Christians, and even in a Nigerian setting, just don't know. They're not aware of this information. I go to them, I do something called the intersection of mental health and faith. All right. And when we begin to present things, because there's nothing we're saying that is not that the Bible doesn't support. We're not telling you to go and steal and anything. You know what I'm saying? Jesus said, I've come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. We're teaching you how to have that life in abundance. When you go to a doctor and the doctor says, take a pill for X amount of days, you don't say that's not in the Bible. Have you ever seen the Bible where you have Bible, what is it called? Verse that says, take Tylenol when you have a headache. So Stella, this is just about information, and this is just about education. I think we just need to educate them. When I tell people about what goes on in depression, for example, when I show churches, and yes, I actually was, I was invited to speak at a Nigerian church, one of those, I don't want to mention the name. Anyway, they did not want me to call it mental health, right? So they called it, Bims, what did they call it again? Something family, something.
We had to call it trauma to triumph. That was really what gave us that name.
Yes.
They didn't want us calling it mental health, and then they now put it under a family program.
Exactly.
Like a family development program. Yeah.
But do you know that everything I said was what I would have said in any place, except for that I added some scriptures to it. So so that they can validate it. When we finished that and we went into small groups in that church, They didn't want us to leave. They were so open. They were asking all kinds of questions. People just don't know. But when you begin to teach them and educate them and show them, look, this is for real. This is, if you do this, this you can, okay, so for example, trauma, trauma shuts off a lot of your stuff, reproduction systems, metabolic systems, all of these systems, your executive functioning systems, right? We know what that means? That means if you're in the throes of trauma, it's difficult to have a baby. It's difficult to have a baby. So now you're going to church and they're pouring oil on your head and you're doing all of these things and you still don't have a child. Do you know that if you treat the trauma and your body goes back into balance, you have the baby just like that? I've seen it in my clients. It happens, it happens, it happens. So there's science behind this. We know it works. God has given us this mind. Your mind cannot be checked out. God, that's why we have our mind. So we can do kingdom work here. So anyway, I don't know if I answered your question. You just have to train them and let them know, and let them know that, look, what you're talking about is valid. I mean, that's all I can say. So for example, self-reflection, Romans chapter 12, verse 2. It says, and be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. How do you renew your mind? You go all the way right back to Joshua, when he says, this book of the law shall not depart on your mouth, but you shall meditate. That word meditate is meditation. It's meditation. It's about self-reflection. It's about mulling it over. So yes, these things, you just find the scripture that supports it and move. I think I've spent a lot of time on that, Stella. Are we tracking? Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, but I just gonna want to say this. Don't let people's lack of knowledge, don't count people's lack of knowledge as a reason for not doing what you're supposed to do. Even when I teach trauma, for example, in my trauma class with my students at the university, I tell them, when we're talking about it, I tell them, you have become ambassadors now, because a lot of people are not doing this. So you now are responsible to go and teach this, to go and enlighten people outside. That becomes our job. All right, so now let me go back to this. Thank you so much for that question. It was really important that we addressed it. All right, so that is, where was I? Yeah. Okay. Oh, wait. That was interesting. Before I get to this, there was some other things I wanted to do. Me and this PowerPoint today. Sorry, guys. Oh, there it is. All right. Where are you? Oh, there it is. So what it was that I skipped it. That's why I couldn't find it, but I want to talk to you about it. So I found it. So here, this is the self-awareness gap. If you are in any kind of organization or leadership, and you're in leadership, you should be aware of this. All right, it's called the awareness gap. And the self-awareness gap it's literally a staple in leadership lingo. Many leaders will brag about how self-aware they are, but when they've done studies, it shows that only, and this will blow you, 10 to 15% of the leadership population actually fit this, actually are self-aware. 10 to 15. Imagine 10 to 15, and they're leading people. 10 to 15. But it's also a reflection of the general population. So if you're self-aware, you're in the top 10%. Many of us, grew up with messages about you don't show your emotions, you suppress them, you ignore them, you internalize everything. So which means that inwardly, where's that? So which means that which means that because you're not processing anything, it's getting dumped in your unconscious mind. Resentment goes there, depression, that everything, it's been dumped in there. And so now you begin to react to things because you've never really addressed them. So lack of self-awareness is it's a significant handicap in leadership. A leader who doesn't even know what's going on with self is not going to take care of employees. When you don't know what's going on with yourself, you can't give what you don't have. So lack of self-awareness is really important, that because it's not arrogance that you're self-aware. It actually makes you a better person. It was a study that looked in Canada that looked at brain activity in people who were in positions of power. And they found that physiologically, there was evidence to conclude that as power increases, guess what? The ability to empathize actually decreased. So as they were moving up in leadership position, their empathy began to decrease. So they become less able to consider the needs of others and look at things from people's perspective. And these kind of people don't think that they need to change. But when you are not doing the work of self-awareness, then you're not building, then you also have a relational gap, which means that you have an organization that is going to actually cause other people in their other organization to, be depressed, to be traumatized, all kinds of things. So you're going to have a higher rate of turnover. Creativity levels are going to go down. You might have people that are just pushing papers in work. The same thing in families. Imagine if you have parents who are not self-aware. When you have a parent who is not self-aware, who doesn't know what's going on with them, that parent then lacks the ability to connect to their children properly. Not connecting about being nice and emotional, that's not what I'm talking about, but the ability to understand the child. The scripture talks about like arrows in the hand. Arrows in the hand. What do you do with children are like arrows in the hand. What do you do with arrows? You point them to a particular place, right? It is our job as parents to point our children to the direction that they should go. So if your child is going to be a musician and is going to be a really talented musician in the world, you should be the first to know it, to be aware of it, and then you point them in that direction. But when you are not practicing self-awareness, then you don't also understand it in the other person. So you can see how that cycle just goes on and on when we're now building lives. We're building what I call pseudo lives. Because when you're not self-aware, then you're not self-aware of yourself, you don't know who you are, you don't know what's going on in your unconscious mind, and going on and on and on. Then with your child, you're just going to do the bare minimum. And when I mean the bare minimum, I'm not talking about the amount of money you spend on them. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about not understanding the child, not knowing what the child is struggling with, not noticing the child, not seeing the child because you're so into your own space, your own trauma, or your own chronic stress, or just trying to just get by in life. But don't be discouraged, because that's why you're here. It means that this year, we become self-aware. This year, we become self-aware. What are some of the benefits? Some of the benefits of self-awareness. I wrote some on this list for you. First of all, it gives you the power to influence outcomes. That means that if I know what's going on, if that woman, before she even got married, had a conversation about what commitment she's already made, then she would be able to work on it so she could have a better outcome, right? So it helps us to become better decision makers. It lets you know exactly what you really want, not what circumstances have made you want, but what you really want. And it makes you better decision makers. It gives you more self-confidence. Like, you look, girl, you got this, bro, you got this. You know, more self-confidence. Yeah, like this, we're doing this, I'm doing this, I'm showing up with everything I got, I'm showing up. That's the way it is. Choose life, choose life, choose life, choose to live no matter what. Don't die in any situation. And when I mean death, I'm not even talking about physical death. That don't allow yourself to die emotionally. Don't allow yourself to just, freak, just die. Don't do it. Don't become a shadow of yourself. Like I always say, if you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. If you can't crawl, scoot. Do something. Find help. There is help. It allows us to understand things from multiple perspectives. Because when somebody doesn't want to see things from other people's perspective, that person lacks self-awareness. When you have self-awareness, you allow other people to be okay in their own self. You're not always going to be right. There are multiple ways to look at things. It frees us from our assumptions and our biases. See that group over there? They're all going to hell. Oh, see that group over there? I can't talk to them. See that group over there? You don't know what you're missing. You're missing you're missing life. Life is right here. And everyone in your journey, anybody you've come across in your journey, try to live a piece of heaven with them before you get out of here. It helps us build better relationships. I've talked a lot about that. It gives us a greater ability to regulate our emotions. So you're not just you're not that puppet that's constantly moving with your emotions all the time. Your emotion says you're happy, then you're happy. Your emotion says you're sad, then you're sad. No. You need to talk to that emotion and say, look, you're just a part of me. You're not all of me. You're just a part of me. You're not all of me. It decreases stress and it helps us with happiness. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. I'm going to stop the video so I can just talk to you, because we'll continue some more tomorrow. But let me stop the spotlight so I can see you guys. Oh, it's not like that. So if you can show your face, because I'm showing mine. So yeah. So one of the things that it says is that it gives you the ability to be happier. It gives you the ability to reduce stress. It gives you the ability to build better relationships. These are some of the things self-awareness is going to do for you. Lack of self-awareness will cause you to live what I call a pseudo life, or a less than life, Wait, how do you build self-awareness? Well, tomorrow, that's when we're going to talk about how do you build self-awareness. How do you? I'm going to talk about 11 ways for you to build self-awareness. But your assignment today, what I want you to do today, is I want you to reflect on some themes in your life. What are some of the themes in your life? Are you always getting angry? Are you the one that is always, you're what do I call it? You never make decisions. Are you a savior? What's that about? What's that about? You know who a savior is? Someone who is always going around solving everybody's problem, but nobody helps you. You know, are you the one that has, are you the one constantly that people have to, that puts out fire? Are you a firefighter? Constantly, are you a firefighter? Are you the one where you never say no to anything? You never say no. Everybody comes to you. It's like, okay, yes, I'm gonna be at church on Sunday. I'm gonna be at church on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, yes, I'm also going to go to work and come back at 6 o'clock and then feed people and then go back. Okay, yes, I'm gonna help you plan that party. Okay, yes, I'm going to help you. What? Why are you doing all of that? See, those are all activities. You need to take a step back and say, why am I doing all this? Are you the kind of person that you're constantly taking care of other people, but you never take care of yourself? What commitments have you made? What is going on in your unconscious mind? Are you the kind of person that you don't like to get into, you're conflict averse? So you just let anything happen. You're not going to defend yourself. People can walk all over you. Why is that happening? That's what self-reflection is about. It's not about judging yourself. You're no good. No, it's about, what's going on? What's going on? Why is this happening in my life? Right? That it is. So tomorrow, are you all there? Are y'all with me? I see Stella is open. Were y'all with me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, we're here.
Debbie,
We're here.
Debbie says, Debbie, what's that about? Yeah, Debbie, tell us what that is about. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, when you talked about the fact that always helping people and no one is helping you out, that just hits right inside.
Absolutely.
That's why I did it.
Absolutely.
And I'm in a place of self-awareness to say, okay, it's enough. It's really
Absolutely.
enough. It's time to do the things that give me joy, laughter, and moving forward. Yeah, that's why I did
Excellent. Excellent. And so be self-aware. I shall see you all tomorrow, and to learn about how do we become self-aware. Sorry for the cliffhanger, but you all got it. All right, Ashley, thank you for showing your face. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Doctor.
Bye-bye. Have a good morning, actually. It's only morning for me. You guys have a good evening. Those of you from across the globe, other side of the pond.